Welcome to Ion Franchising, where you will learn the A to Z's of franchising. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ion Franchising. I'm your host, Lance Graulich. So today I'm already getting hungry, and I haven't even sampled the goods as of yet, but I definitely plan on making a trip to Utah, which is a neighboring state. So there I did. I just tipped off what's going to happen here. So first guest, a seasoned leader. There are two guests today, a seasoned leader and Fortune 100 consultant. He's advised companies like Facebook, Disney, Toyota, just to name a few. Welcome to the show, Sean Wilson.
Thank you.
Awesome. Perfect. Now, next, save the amazing lady for next and last. She's worked at brands like the Washington Redskins, now the Commanders, the Tiger Woods Foundation, eBay, and more. She was honored as one of Utah's 40 under 40. So another founder, I should have said that Sean is also a founder, but Sarah is the founder of Chip Cookies. Welcome to the show, Sarah Wilson.
Thanks, Lance. Happy to be here. Excited to chat.
Awesome. Look forward to it. So we have a lot to go through, but let's start with kind of the obvious. How'd you get here? What did you guys do before you founded Chip?
Yeah, great question. I mean, Sean and I both, we're climbing the corporate ladder, living that life, and really, never really planned on being bakers. And here we are now, running a cookie shop. So it's been really fun. I mean, my background, like you mentioned, I did sports management. I went to George Washington University and got my master's, and loved working in sports, really focused on marketing and client experience. And then I got pregnant and everything changed. I needed cookies late at night, and we saw a gap in the market and started Chip.
Well, I did see something, Sarah, about pregnancy cravings. Is
Yes.
that really how this whole thing started?
It's exactly how it started, Lance. We were living in LA, and I already have a sweet tooth, but when I was pregnant, it was just amplified. And, I needed a warm chocolate chip cookie, and it was typically, 11 midnight. I'd kind of roll over and look at Sean and say, okay, I need a cookie. And, I think it was our first. And so this pregnancy cravings almost felt like a medical need. Like, I'm like, if I don't get this cookie, Sean, something's going to happen to our baby. So you better, get out of bed and get me cookies.
So was during your pregnancy, was that when you learned how to bake, or were you always a baker?
No, I've always loved baking. I mean, it's been fun starting Chip, and I've had people kind of come out of the woodwork saying, Sarah, you used to bake me cookies. Or remember this? Like, of course you're doing cookies. And I mean, I'm not a trained baker, but I'm a home trained baker, and I love it. I feel like I should have an honorary degree now.
Yeah.
But I have always loved baking. Most importantly, I love the output. I have a sweet tooth, and I love treats. And so
Love it.
Always loved baking, and obviously now just really leaned into that.
Well, that was the problem, Lance, that I was the one that was supposed to bake.
Yeah.
She was in bed, I was the caretaker, and I was struggling to find something that either I had to make myself or I had to go buy. And then being in a big place like LA, it was crazy that we couldn't find something that could kind of hit that need. So that was the funny part.
Yeah, he would bring me back, Lance. I mean, he'd run around town and bring me back, old baked goods or, like prepackaged cookies. And I had a very specific craving. And as a baker and someone who loved treats, I'm like, no, go make me a fresh, warm cookie. Like, I want that experience out of the oven, gooey cookie. And I think he actually did make them a couple of times, but I was asleep by the time they were done. And
this is just such an awesome story. So at what point, I mean, obviously you had the baby. At what point did one of you decide these cookies are so good, we need to make a real business out of it?
So within, pretty quickly on, Sean wrote a business plan. I mean, he writes business plans for fun. He's kind of a dork like that. I mean,
yes,
I don't get it, but we saw this gap, and he's like, why isn't there anything like this? And he presented a business plan to me. I mean, shortly after our daughter was born, and he'd done this, too many times. He's like, the next baby, I'm not doing this. And so he wrote a business plan. I thought it was crazy. I said, stick with your day job. And, you know, we just couldn't get it out of our mind. We felt like this might be something that people would like. And so we started testing the idea in Provo. We both had gone to school there, and we knew there were a lot of pregnant women. Utah's kind of known, you know, for that.
Well, Utah's known for being the sugar capital of the country,
Yeah.
for those that know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's true. We know our sweets here. You know, we won Best of State Cookie, which is such an honor with like you said, I mean, people know their sweets and their sugar here. So yeah, we decided to test the idea in Provo, and we found a rental kitchen we could rent by the hour. And that's really how we started. And we just started having lines out the door almost, you know, immediately. So.
And that was in 2016?
16. Mm-hmm.
Got it. So what was the next step? You found a location and you opened a store. And what was what was really the vision at that point, other than delivering cookies? Was there something secret or proprietary in that business plan at the time, or just make money?
Well, so we went when I wrote the business plan. This was actually a year before that when we opened. So there was obviously a little bit more to the backstory in terms of, you know, I was consulting and I was traveling back from New York and all these different places and around the country. And the idea, it's hard to imagine now, with what's happened in this industry, but at the time there really was nothing like this. So we came and I approached it like, lean startup, where we were going to basically say, here's our hypothesis. We think people have the same need as us. We're going to test it out. And so when we found that location in Provo where we could essentially rent a kitchen by the hour, which I mean, essentially is like a ghost kitchen these days, what they call, but at the time it was different than that. And we had our recipe, we had our cookies, and we were, we put it together a website, and we would write orders on sticky notes. And it was really just like gum and duct tape to kind of keep it all together, just to prove that hey, there was something here. Exactly. And man, like Sarah said, immediately we had lines out the door. We were coming to people's door and delivering them. I mean, really, one of our big things is about delivering cookies. And obviously there's a lot of bakeries around, and we're really proud about our cookies, and we love it when people come in because it's such a great and unique experience. Yeah. But we also believe that there's a huge need, and throughout COVID and other times over the years, we've seen that there's a huge demand for delivery and the convenience. And there's just something great and emotional about getting warm, fresh cookies to your door that, I mean, if we go back to where we started from, if I could have had that service, it would have saved me a lot of long nights being in the doghouse.
No, and I totally picked up on what you were just saying, Sean, because that's all that Sarah wanted. She wanted a warm, fresh cookie and wanted to have that experience. And clearly a lot of other people do. I love the fact that when you guys launched, you were the original or the OG of the cookie world. I mean, there were a lot of, cupcake shops and things like that. But in cookies at the time you started, you guys were the original visionaries. So give me that story of, all right, you open a location. How did franchising enter the picture? What did you know about it? How did you decide, hey, I'm going to start franchising here?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we have been in business. It wasn't until 5 years in business that we decided to franchise. And I mean, that was because, we call it doing it the Chip way. We wanted to make sure that we had the processes down, the brand down before we started franchising. And, we'd received advice from a number of different mentors that gave us that advice of, get your systems down. And now, really there's just this pent up demand for chip. We, like you said, we started this category of warm gourmet cookie delivery. And so we've had people who went to school in, Provo 5 years ago, and they're saying, why don't I have this in Florida? Like, when are you going to open? And it's been really fun to open up franchising earlier this year. And, I had a franchisee say to me, it's been on my bucket list to open a Chip. Like when you know, we just have had this, you know, pent up demand of getting a Chip to every city and also to franchise. And so we've been so excited to announce that. We think it's a great vehicle for growth, and even partnering with people who kind of believe in Chip and are hardworking and have that, you know, the same, we call it people that can make Chip happen. And
make Chip happen. I love it.
Make Chip happen. So yeah, we're excited.
Well, I think the other thing, Lance, too, and maybe for the sake of the audience, is I think every franchisee or franchisor has to face this when, you know, do they remain corporately owned and expand that way, or do they franchise? And I've talked to lots of different concepts that some have chosen to be corporate and remain that way, and some have chosen to franchise. And I think that was part of, you know, what the dialogue that was going on behind the scenes amongst Sarah and I, and just in general about how we wanted to approach our expansion, because we knew the demand that was there. It was just a matter of how we felt like we could do it. And so, you know, exactly what Sarah said, we felt like now was the right time to go and really tackle franchising, because we were ready to do it.
Well, franchising is certainly all about the relationship. Get it?
Thank you. Yeah,
we used that too. That was our first neon sign in Provo. It was in a serious relationship.
I love it. I love it. So how many locations are there today open? I know you have a lot in the pipeline in development, but how many open right now?
We have 10 corporate locations, and
wow.
We have our first franchise should open probably in December. So, but we have a ton that are signed and in the pipeline right now. But you know, we just announced franchising February, March of this year, and are really taking the time to handpick people, you know, make sure we have a really healthy system and can grow at a fast rate, but a healthy rate.
Yeah. And you just hit on one of my favorite things, you know, franchising, it's just like a personal relationship, but it is a business relationship. I call the FDD and the franchise agreement, the prenup, if you will, to the relationship. But, you know, you do know more than a personal relationship going in. There's a process, which we can talk about your process in a little bit. So let's talk more about what Chip is and what Chip isn't, based on maybe, Sean, what you were alluding to earlier about delivery and what makes the brand special, and then roll into who you're looking for.
Yeah, Chip, we serve warm, fresh cookies, and you can come pick them up, or they can be delivered to your house. And, you know, we really focus on having the highest quality ingredients. That's kind of the gourmet side of it. You know, what's funny is we are the OG, because we kind of created this category, but we also call our original cookie the OG. And the reason that is because the first year we were open, we only sold one type of cookie, and it was a chocolate chip cookie. And the lines that we had around the block and the demand and the everything that was going on was over one cookie. And it's crazy to think about, because we had one product on our menu. It was 4 chocolate chip cookies in a box, and you got a pint of milk with it. We called it the Chip and Chill. And so you could go and you could, you know, invite your girlfriend over, or, you know, your husband or whoever, and your night would be set, because you'd have some warm, fresh cookies, a milk, and then you throw a movie on or do whatever you're going to do. So it was, you know, really fun. And I think we solved and answered a problem that a lot of people had that they didn't even realize that they had, and which was really cool. And that's something we continue to do to this day. We obviously still have our OG on our menu, which is our chocolate chip cookie, which, you know, study after study says that that's the most popular cookie that among Americans. And then we also sprinkle in some weekly cookies along the way, which we spend the time to really make sure that they are high quality ingredients, well tested, and really exciting. So we have cookies now that we rotate in and out, that if we don't bring them back, people go nuts. And so we've learned that we got to listen to our customer and bring back those cookies. But you know, we have those warm, fresh cookies that is just a need for pregnant women, but for everybody.
Yeah, not just for pregnant women. Store. That's the disclaimer. Everybody can eat.
Exactly.
It's true. That's what we learned. I mean, really, it's so funny because so much of the hypothesis really in the beginning was this like pregnant woman. We were just open Fridays and Saturdays, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. because that's when I crave cookies, you know? And obviously it grew into a business that was so much more than that. And really, you know, you try to look at the profiles of our customer and it's anybody, right? You know, who doesn't love a cookie and a warm, fresh cookie? And, you know, we've really, like Sean said, taken the time to perfect our recipes, and we stand behind having the best cookies out there and serving them in a warm, fresh way. I mean, we really kind of broke that typical bakery model of baking everything at 3, 4 a.m. It's sitting in a case all day. I mean, we're baking fresh cookies all day long. And, you know, we would bring them to the door and they'd hold the box and be like, it's warm. Like they'd scream and hug us. They couldn't believe that they were getting that, you know, to their door. And even when they come in the store, some people still are like, wait, it's warm and fresh, you know, like
I love it.
Just breaking that typical bakery model is really what Chip has done.
That's awesome. And now who are you looking for, or better question, based on all the franchisees that you've signed thus far? Are these single unit deals? Are they multi-unit deals? And where do these people come from? And, you know, how did they make it through the process? How'd they get so lucky? What's that audition like?
Great question. I mean, yeah, we're doing multiple units. You know, that just makes sense. We'd like to have a franchise that where people have multiple units. Our franchisees have been a mix of people, but it's mostly people who believe in the brand. Like I said, you know, this is a bucket list for them. They know they were around. I think some of them were around during that time and know how much in demand our product is. But it's also people who we feel like can join the Chip family, you know, that have the same values, the same work ethic, can deliver the same message. As you can imagine, for us, Chip has kind of been like a baby. You know, we've had 4 other children during this whole time that we've grown Chip. But it's kind of our 5th baby. And so who are we letting, you know, hold that baby and trust it and to deliver the Chip mission? I think a lot of franchising is making sure that you have the same quality product and experience, and you can replicate that, you know, in Florida. And so, you know, we're trying to find the right people who have the business experience and the drive. You know, it's that make Chip happen motto that we use a lot. But I think a lot of our franchisees so far have really demonstrated those qualities.
Awesome. And what are you looking for if you were going to look at the people that you've selected thus far? What are the top qualities that they all have in common?
Yeah, I think as Sarah mentioned, a lot of it is the passion, just believing in the product, our product, for, you know, obviously, but also just being generally interested in bakery. You know, it's funny, you start talking to people and, you know, there'll be people that said, oh, I had this idea 20 years ago, or that are like, man, I've been waiting to get out of my job so that I could run a bakery. My mom ran a bakery, or I've always thought that I like being around cookies, and it's just a fun environment to be in. And so I think a lot of that passion has to be there. You have to want to be there. This isn't just something you know, like buying a stock and you walk away from it. You know, you have to be invested in it. We're also looking for people that, like Sarah said, making Chip happen. That's one of our catchphrases that we use. But to us, it means, you know, kind of when things aren't exactly going your way, you still make things happen. We want people that are entrepreneurial minded in that way, and that can find a solution when, you know, there are certain people that just like to be, you know, like live in a corporate environment and whatever that might be. But we want someone who's gonna go on this journey with us in terms of entrepreneurship, and, you know, knowing that there will be situations where we'll teach you the process and how to handle it, but, you know, you may have to make Chip happen in a certain situation, and then we can come back and figure it out. So those are a few things. We have other values that we talk about, but those are some of the big ones.
So let's talk about the investment, generally speaking, just the range that maybe is in the FDD, the franchise disclosure document. What's the square footage that you guys are typically looking for? What's that prototype? Why don't you go through that?
Yeah, so the investments, you know, I'm not using exact numbers here, but
yeah, that's okay.
Basically under $500,000, and that includes the build out, the equipment, Sometimes you can find situations where it's much less than that, just depending on if it's a second generation space. So there's a lot of real estate components and construction costs that go into that. But relatively minimal investment in terms of just the build out costs and the equipment. And let's see, that's the main part of the investment piece of it. What was the other part of your question?
Square footage?
Oh, square footage. So yeah, I mean, we're looking at spaces. We've even gone into spaces 1,000 square feet, even 800 square feet. We have spaces that are 2,000, and sometimes that's a financial decision, you know, depending on the situation or what's available in the market. But generally, around 1,200 square feet is a pretty good space for us, and if we can do less than that, that's great too.
Sarah, what about marketing and launching? Obviously, you and Sean have had lots of conversation about that. I know you're the whiz with all that good stuff. So, tell us a little bit about those plans, because, you know, obviously, I mean, is Utah sold out already? Have you, there's no more space available in Utah.
No more Utah. We're sold out. You know, it's gone quickly. Obviously, this is where we started. So, you know, we're very familiar with the brand. We're almost sold out of Idaho. We've had tons of interest in California, really all over. We have a group coming from the South, which we'd love to get to. If you're in the South and listening, let's bring Chip there. I'd love to get there.
Love it.
But yeah, marketing for us, I mean, we focus a lot on social, obviously. That's where a lot of eyeballs are. We do a great job on that. We have great partnerships. You know, we actually collaborate with people on cookies, which has been really fun. You know, and it's a neat program we have because it's just organic. We don't pay these partners. They're just people who genuinely love the brand. You know, we've partnered with Rudy Gobert. It's the only treat he'll eat every year is his choco nut chip. And you know, these are just fans of the brand. And, you know, we do with local brands, but also nationwide brands will partner with cookies. So that's a lot of the marketing. And then in terms of getting a new franchise open, we have a, you know, PR team that's franchise specific that helps, you know, for the first 60 days to get, you know, people like you to interview them and get some buzz around their opening and coming into the new market. So we have a whole marketing plan for them, you know, that's localized and also nationwide that we're working on from, you know, getting the brand out there.
Yeah, you have a great website. I love that you use ambassadors, celebrities, if you will, from all walks of life that are there as well. That's pretty neat. Of course, you're the OG, so why wouldn't you? So describe a little bit about the selection process. All the listeners, if they're interested in a chip location, what do they do? I mean, obviously they can go right to your website.
Yeah, go to our website. There's a franchising page. It's also on the homepage. You can link to that, fill that out. We have Neil Courtney, I think we mentioned this, but Neil Courtney, the former CEO of Mrs. Fields, is on our team and he's our franchise developer. So he's working with all of these folks. It's been great to have him on. Obviously, he knows the cookie space very well. And once you fill that out, he'll be in touch with you within a day or two. We're very efficient with our process and yeah, we'll get back to you. So from there, it's a pretty easy process. We, you know, have phone calls and then we meet you in person. We do a discovery day, come out to Salt Lake, chat with us a little bit.
And you have to eat all the cookies in order to become a franchisee.
That is what everybody cares about. They don't even want the presentation, right? They're just like, where are the cookies?
Show me the cookies.
Which, you know what? That's like, we're into it. We're like, you want the cookies? Let's do it. We don't even need to hear anything else.
Yeah.
You have to have a passion for
We
cookies.
know exactly how they feel. Yeah.
I love it. So you can watch their face and know if they're right for you. I mean,
we joke, Lance, that we have a profile. We're like, what's your favorite chip cookie flavor? And we're like, it's a whole profile around what flavor they like.
I love it. Yeah. You have to, well, anyway, we will talk about it.
You gotta love the OG, right? I'm going to give it away. You've got to love the OG.
I do have a personality assessment in mind for you based on that. It's like an obstacle course of cookies. Yeah. We'll talk about this.
This is great. I love it. Yeah. Got something there.
So what is the plan? The plan is to obviously sell out the US. You've taken your sweet time, pun intended. And but you really have. And I respect that. You've perfected the systems based on both of your corporate backgrounds. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. Talk a little bit about training. What is the training like in order to get a new franchisee up to speed? I mean, you're about to be in the thick of it, literally, because, of all the franchisees in the pipeline.
Yeah, our training, we've hired some folks to help build and develop and implement the training process. So we're really excited about the experience in the background. We have chefs and people that have worked in full service restaurants for a long time, and other people that have worked in franchising and other things. And so we're building that team. And then the training itself is, there's some coursework online, and then we'll do some in classroom training. But we really want to get people into the store. I mean, the beauty of the concept, even when we originally started it, was the simplicity of it. When we love the idea of having something that you can really do well and really repeat and because sometimes, it's hard to do some of this stuff and make it repeatable, or do all the effort that it takes in the background to make it look really simple. And maybe it's hard to get it, a product to somebody's house in 15 minutes or whatever it might be. So we really take our time and get people into the store so they can learn the processes and what it takes and put their hands on it, so that when they get into their store and their location, they'll be prepared and encounter, whatever situations might come up. If they're in Florida or whatever state, and then they can also be the subject matter expert in their location moving forward.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Years ago when I got into the donut business, people would always tell me, "Oh, people aren't eating carbs anymore." And I said, "Are you crazy? People cannot live without their sweets, especially in the United States." Mm-hmm. So obviously you guys are certainly a part of that success, and I absolutely love it. And even though I keep hearing in this economy that there's this chip shortage, there's no shortage of chips here. So final thoughts, words of wisdom today, guys. What did we not cover that you'd like to throw out there?
Well, just in response to what you just said, I think cookies are one of those things that have been around a long time. When we first started this concept, people were like, "Well, is this the next cupcakes or whatever fad that they can come up with?" But as we've seen over the last 6 years, and even longer, if you want to talk about Mrs. Fields or Nestle Toll House or any others, that cookies, and especially chocolate chip cookies, aren't going anywhere. And I think we found a recipe for a great concept that's easily to get out into your community with a great product and a great brand that you could put yourself behind and be proud of bringing to your community, wherever that might be, and provide warm, fresh cookies and an experience that's really exciting and interesting and different. And I think, which seems crazy to say because it's been around so long, but we've taken something old and kind of made it new again, and then we'll continue to do that as we move forward. We're really excited about the journey that we're going to take with our future franchisees, because it's going to be exciting. That's awesome. I love it. Sarah, you get the final words today.
I love when I get the final word. We're just excited. I think, if you're somebody who, is working that day job and just excited to have something of their own. I mean, I am not an entrepreneur, even though, obviously I am now, but it's not who I am and in my blood. I think Sean has really twisted my arm to follow this path, but there's just so much freedom and really fulfillment in starting something like this. And I think if you're interested in running your own business really and like being around cookies, I think this is a great opportunity for you. And, we're excited to find the right people to join the Chip family.
Awesome. Well, Sarah and Sean, thank you so much. Chip Cookies, amazing brand. It's not new. It is the OG. So come get your chocolate chip cookies and others. Thanks again, guys, for being here.
Thanks, Lance.
Thank you, Lance.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for listening today. Please like, follow, and subscribe. This is Lance Graulich. Until next time.